been asked to present a very special person tonight. She has worked behind the scenes on comedy for a Cure for many years, but tonight we'd like to put the spotlight on April Cooper. April with beautiful twin girls, Abby and Amelia. But her life changed forever when both of the girls were diagnosed with tuberous sclerosis. April and her husband Alfred have been on quite a ride ever since, and she is here tonight to share some of their journey with you. So, ladies and gentlemen, April Cooper.
Thank you, Patricia. Your passion and enthusiasm means more to us than I can tell you. Hello, my name is April Cooper, and I am the mother of 8-year-old twin girls, Abigail and Amelia, who have tuberous sclerosis. TS, as it's often called, is a chronic disease that lasts a lifetime. The journey is often described as being like one is walking through a minefield. You never know when another symptom will appear or how serious it will be. Like most who live with this disease, our family's journey includes great highs and terrifying lows, wonderful successes and dramatic setbacks, pure joy and deep sorrow. Our story is not unique. Some do better and some do much worse. TS is highly variable and affects every single person differently, even identical twins. And my daughters are a great example of this. Amelia started having seizures when she was only 2 weeks old. Of course, at the time, as new parents, we had no idea that these strange movements were seizures. And we were temporarily comforted when the initial battery of tests assured us that Amelia was going to be fine. Unfortunately, our journey was short-lived. When just 2 weeks later, Amelia's seizures became more obvious. We knew instantly that we were in real trouble. Amelia was rushed to the local emergency room, and our nightmare began. The CAT scan gave us an immediate diagnosis. The ER doctor walked up to me like he was diagnosing an ear infection and said, "Your daughter has tuberous sclerosis," turned his back and walked away. Having never heard these words before, and judging from the look on his face, I could tell that this wasn't good news. Once my head stopped spinning, I literally hunted that man down, and I told him I needed more information. He said that he wasn't qualified to tell me, but he did know that there were multiple problems associated with it. Amelia was admitted on the spot, and it was 24 hours before we saw a doctor who could tell us anything about this disease. That doctor told us that her best advice would be that we pray for a miracle. I pray that I never feel the same level of heartache as I felt that day. My baby was only 2 months old. In the beginning, we were blindly optimistic. Amelia had a couple extended periods of seizure control, one for 6 months and another for 3, but the periods of control became fewer and farther between. Then, just as when the statistics gave us hope that Amelia was going to be spared from the devastating seizures called infantile spasms that so many children with TS get, they started. The damage that was caused by the seizures were becoming more and more obvious. We were so frightened as we watched Amelia helplessly deteriorate before our eyes that we didn't have the time or energy to worry about the what-if possibilities that were very real for her sister Abby. At 1 year of age, Abby was taking her first steps, and Amelia wasn't even crawling. Amelia had no language, and except for saying the word hi, no sound came out of her mouth. Abby did give us some reality checks on what we're up against, having 2 children with tuberous sclerosis. A fever or an ear infection wreaked havoc in our house, as static seizures became an issue for both Abby and Amelia. These are terrifying, life-threatening seizures that last more than 30 minutes and typically require medical intervention. I'll never forget the day I rushed home from work to find the fire trucks and ambulances lining our small street with dozens of firemen and paramedics in my front yard trying to get my daughter to stop seizing. Going to the emergency room via ambulance was normal. And as you can imagine, my husband and I started getting very nervous about how much we were going to be able to handle. Thankfully, Abby's incidences became fewer and farther between, and she was able to maintain her seizure-free status for our sanity. Amelia, on the other hand, continued her downward spiral. Those around us started losing hope that things were going to get much better, but my husband and I never did. Amelia spent most of her time at school and or at therapy, either sleeping or crying. She was over-medicated in a constant state of recovery. We literally searched across the country to find something or someone who could help us. And eventually we ended up at UCLA, where the idea of brain surgery was presented to us as a long-shot possibility for Amelia. We realized that this would be her only way out of the spiral, and we aggressively began to pursue this option. We are told that 1/3 to 1/2 of both girls' brains are tuber mass, or non-functioning brains. Because of this, qualifying Amelia for surgery was going to be a challenge, but as you can imagine, we were desperate and determined. After 6 long months of testing, Amelia underwent brain surgery in 2002 at 2.5 years of age. And by the grace of God, she has been seizure-free for nearly 6 years and on all seizure medications. It's impossible for us to imagine what our lives would be like if Amelia was still having seizures. The damage that those 2.5 years caused is tremendous. Amelia is significantly developmentally delayed and has many autistic characteristics. She needs constant supervision and cannot do simple things like get herself dressed, brush her teeth, or even sit still. Amelia was 7 years old when she eventually became potty trained, and her inability to communicate causes us all great pain. It's sheer frustration that causes her to hit herself, mainly in the head, probably upwards of 20 times a day. And we know that Amelia will never live an independent life. But what Amelia does have is her twin sister, Abby. The loving connection that these girls have is unlike anything I've ever seen. In the beginning, we were told that Abby, like everyone else with TS, had an 80 to 90% chance of developing seizures. The fact that she escaped the statistics and beat the odds makes her our real miracle child. Abby will soon be celebrating her 7-year anniversary of being seizure-free. This, however, doesn't mean that Abby hasn't been affected by tuberous sclerosis. In 2006, we discovered that Abby had a rare brain tumor growing in her ventricle, and she underwent immediate brain surgery. I will never forget the small tear that rolled out of the corner of her eye the day we broke the news to her. But she's incredibly brave and now sees her experience as a badge of courage. Like many children with TS, Abby does have some mild learning disabilities, attention, anxiety, and even bouts of depression. But we would never trade her journey with TS with anyone else that has this horrible disease. In addition to their brains being full of tumors, both girls have heart, eye, and multiple kidney tumors growing inside their small bodies. And on the outside, they have disfiguring tumors developing on their beautiful faces that will eventually require ongoing laser surgery. And as if these issues weren't enough, because they are female, both girls have a 40% chance of developing a devastating lung condition that at this time is considered fatal. I think you can see why my husband and I are very scared for their futures. Due to its involvement in multiple organ systems, ongoing research to treat and ultimately cure tuberous sclerosis will impact our understanding of and help pave the way for treatments and therapies for numerous diseases, including cancer, autism, epilepsy, and diabetes. I just hope it doesn't come too late for Abby and Amelia. It's important to me and everyone else affected by this disease that there are people like you who are supporting us in our fight to find a cure for tuberous sclerosis. Thank you for caring.